lots of paddling somewhere on the water. It is the Global MEGAFist 12. This is episode 12 of the GMF 12. My name is Derek Osceola. Joined, as always, by Lisa Crampleport. Stuck in a hellish floating nightmare. But tonight we have some MMA action, and I am excited for it.
I am too, Derek. It's been a long time without fights. I'm slowly going more mad than I thought I was capable of. I started making up little stories for the swirls I see frolicking on the banks of whatever bodies of water we are traveling, and even that was turning dark in my head, so I am thankful for tonight's bout.
Dark times indeed. Not only is this an amateur mixed martial arts tournament and a live floating riverboat broadcast, it is also a cry for help from both of us. However, tonight we have some outstanding fights. We are focusing on the lightweight division here in the Global MEGAFist 12. These are the fourth fights for these fighters, and we've got quite the action for you. Our main event comes from Group A. Newcomer Walter Birch, the yardstick, the professional disciplinarian of children, takes on a tough opponent, the 2-1, Trevor Sereno, the guidance counselor with the dark, mysterious past. I'm sure the tattoos on his body tell quite the story, but what it is, we may never know. What we do know is it's going to be a great fight between two guys who know how to strike.
Oh, absolutely, Derek. These are both accomplished stand-up artists, and both accomplished at dealing with children in their own unique ways. Sereno, the I guess, carrot, as it were, to help lead children on a more prosperous path, and Walter Birch, the stick. You know, you mentioned his nickname, the yardstick. He is the stick in the scenario of disciplining unruly children. So it's a bit of a dichotomy we have in this main event tonight.
No doubt about that. Walter Birch, his first year in the Global MEGAFist 12. He has come on strong, has yet to lose so far. Sereno might be the opponent that might match up well to him. Sticking in Group A, look at this one. Miroslav Florislava, 2-1, taking on another 2-1 opponent, Zeke Apnea. Zeke Apnea went 2-3 in his first tournament last year. Florislava went 5-0 in the group stage before falling in the semifinals. Zeke Apnea is a stock on the rise despite his sleepy demeanor. He might be in for quite the battle.
This should be great. Last year wouldn't have thought Apnea would have reached 2 wins this early. But that is a completely different man from who we saw in 2019. He is, well, like all of us, 2020 has changed him severely, but he might be one of the few that is doing better in 2020 than years prior.
No doubt about that. Florislava stumbled a bit out the gates in this, losing to Walter Birch. Florislava is a dangerous customer. That should be a great fight. And rounding out Group A, Cale Howard, Ruben Fondant, almost guaranteed to be a relegation battle. Neither fighter has picked up a win yet this year. Ruben Fondant has gone 0-4, only to win at the last possible moment, saving his spot in the Global MEGAFist 12. For Cale Howard, well, he finished in 5th place last year. That was enough to save him. These two might be fighting for that 5th place spot that at least gives you a chance to fight for survival. It might doom the loser in this one.
Absolutely. This is these men are clawing for a spot to remain in Global MEGAFist 2021. You know, both guys deal with food in unique ways, but they've yet to crack the column of victorious so far in the 2020 season.
Yeah, but surprising as Howard is kind of the one to kind of squeak out those wins as we saw in last year's tournament. And there you see the standings just to kind of bring a bit of numbers and a bit of a visual to help guide what we were just saying. Howard and Fondant at 0 points at 0-3, and Birch at the top with 17. He can easily clinch himself a spot with a win tonight in the semifinals. Again, the top 2 make it. Bottom 1 drops down, and number 5 has to fight for survival. However, this is not just one group. There are 2 groups of 6. And on the other side, we look at this fight. This was a great one last year where Rob Lynn got a surprisingly quick knockout against Beginnis Swordhouse. The 2 are kind of moving in opposite directions this year. Swordhouse struggling to find his form. Lynn suffered a loss, but has been just as impressive as always.
Oh, absolutely. Lynn is a dangerous fighter at all times. Swordhouse, he's dangerous at times. He's struggled at times. It's going to be interesting how this one plays out. Revenge is always a big motivating factor for fighters, and Swordhouse definitely wants to get that victory back from the clutches of the Goblin Rob Lynn.
I'll have to check when we get to that fight, but I believe it was a first round knockout. I'll double check when it happens, but that's going to be one of our later fights tonight. JC Switcher, the defending lightweight champion, and the only man who has a win over Rob Lynn in all of Global MEGAFist 12. He defeated him in the semifinals last year and has defeated him in group play and basically in the group stages. The most recent fight was Lynn's first group stage loss. Takes on the newcomer, Deputy Snooter Magnum, the police dog man trained.
The man what smells for bombs, I guess.
The man what smells. You know what? Yes, I like that. That's better than I could have ever attempted to. Yeah, he's a weird one, and he's proven dangerous. He did come out of the Hyperfist, winning the Hyperfist tournament to make his way into Global MEGAFist 12. He's shown to struggle so far with losses to Charlie Valentine and Rob Lynn. But to be fair, Magnum has been thrown into the waters with some very difficult opponents.
Yeah, 100%, Derek. I mean, Deputy Snooter Magnum, he's finding his footing here in the Global MEGAFist proper, and for a man who has always maintained his footing, always is consistent, week in, week out, fight in, fight out, JC Switcher, I mean, the epitome of consistency. This guy is impressive. This is going to be a tough fight for Magnum. Wow, Switcher's been really impressive last year and this year.
Switcher has, again, he's a fighter that, again, he won last year's tournament after only going 3-2 in the group stages, but enough to make the semifinals, an upset over Rob Lynn, and then defeating Trevor Serrano in the finals. He is 3-0 so far, and rounding out the groups, Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, currently 0-3, looking for his first victory. Takes on another competitor that is pushing for that top 2 spot. He just barely missed it last year. Charlie Valentine. Cannot forget about the matchmaker, the Oklahoma Cupid himself, Charlie Valentine.
Yeah, these guys are clearly, as the record show, on opposite ends of the rankings so far. Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, our most honorable troop on the Atsapadlin. He's maybe he's busy making sure our freedoms are secured. I haven't really had a chance to check in. He seems distracted at times. Yeah. But Charlie Valentine, he has looked very solid this year. He is one to watch out for.
Absolutely. 3-2 last year, 2-1 so far. Not just, and actually both of his wins have come via TKO. His only loss, a decision loss to JC Switcher. So again, we're seeing Charlie Valentine being that one, and I'm looking actually at my notes from last year. Switcher did not defeat him by finish either. He only defeated him by decision, and that ultimately was what kept Charlie Valentine out of the semifinals. He could be finding himself battling for that place, but there is a very top-heavy Group B as you see it. Look at all those names. I mean, we talk about someone like Beginner's Swordhouse at the bottom in 5th with 3 points in 1 and 2, but there are just so many top names in Group B that someone is bound to be in that position. It just happens to be Swordhouse this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the idea that, a guy like the Goblin Rob Lynn might not make the cut is, if everything were to end today, the regular season were to end today, he would be on the outside looking in. You know, it's pretty crazy to think that something like that could happen, but this 2020 season has been pretty weird all over. I mean, Rear Sergeant Val, 0-3. Again, a Swordhouse just 1-2. It's an interesting season so far, and I think these fights.
Not to mention being on a moving riverboat.
The moving riverboat, the weird quarantine situation we have set up for ourselves, perhaps unwillingly. It's just kind of confusing overall, but hopefully after tonight, the upcoming playoff picture gets a little more clear. Hopefully things aren't even in more of disarray after tonight's fights, but you never know.
We'll have a clear idea, and I gotta say, we'll obviously know who we already know what the final week or group of fights are for basically everyone. So we'll have an idea of who's still fighting for what after tonight's results are in. Of course, as always, what you are watching is amateur mixed martial arts, which means 3 rounds of 2.5 minutes each. That's 150 seconds, which counts down in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. The 10-point must scoring system is in effect. The round winner getting 10 points, his opponent getting 9 or less. As always, no to the groin, no hitting the back of the head, and no one gets paid. Judges, if they are needed, will score the fight based on aggression, damage, control, and asking the local wildlife and interpreting their response. So they might be asking you, Lucille, for some of that how you've interpreted the squirrels' responses that you've seen, should it be necessary. However, that is not just it when it comes to the Global MEGAFist 12. If you're wondering why we're talking about points and who is advancing, if this is all confusing to you, then we have just the video for you right now to explain the Global MEGAFist 12 in a nutshell.
The Global MEGAFist 12 is a grueling competition like nothing ever seen before in mixed martial arts. First, the 12 fighters are drawn at random into 2 groups of 6 fighters each. Each fighter will face off against the other 5 in their group. A win is worth 3 points, while a draw is worth 1. In addition, bonus points are awarded for how fast a fight is won. Winning in the 3rd round is worth 4 total points, a 2nd round win is worth 5, and finishing a fight in the 1st round gets you 6 points in all. After all 5 rounds of competition, the 2 fighters who finish in last place are relegated from Global MEGAFist 12 and must earn their way back in next season. They will be replaced by 2 fighters from the IRMstream qualifying tournament. The 2 5th-place fighters will be matched up against 2 more fighters from the IRMstream qualifiers, with the winners earning their spot in next season's Global MEGAFist 12. The top 2 fighters from each group advance to the semifinals, where the 1st-place fighter from each group will take on the 2nd-place fighter from the other. The winners of these fights will do battle for the championship. It all comes down to one thing: win, and win fast. And the title of Global MEGAFist 12 champion awaits.
Yes, that is our rule set, but coming up to get things started, we are kicking it off with what is potentially a battle to stay in the tournament itself. Ruben Fondant, Cale Howard, it's happening right fairly. Again, we're going with their senior superlatives. Most likely to cry during dessert. Most likely to marry a parrot. High school kids can be cruel, I guess. Lucille is the lesson from that one.
Let's fight.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
See what he's gonna do. Then go upstairs.
I'm just.
Keep angling.
Kale Howard is just
Hands up.
so weird to me at times. I mean, nothing against vegans. There have been plenty of vegan fighters in
1-6.
the history of MMA.
Use your face.
He just takes it to a weird level so often. Like,
Come on, hand movement,
there's
let your hands go.
it seems like there's a clear path, and then he just takes a completely
Don't do
different,
anything sloppy.
bizarre route to an unknown destination in his
Yeah, and
mind.
again, it's also nothing against activism. If you believe in something and you want to defend it and you know, put your efforts and your resources towards bringing that cause to light, that's fine. But do a little bit of research. His shirt says meat causes autism. I am 100% sure that is not the case.
Yeah,
Hold his hand.
and I asked him at what rate, and he just said, "Sure, that's what they want you to think."
Get him
And I-
backing up and make
That
him
wasn't
pay.
even like you asked a question.
yeah.
Punch. Throw that left right down
Not
the
even the
middle.
right way to answer that. If you wanted to say like that's what, like you didn't even give.
Short goes. Head movement.
You know, I'm gonna be honest. If he does get relegated, I'm not gonna feel
Keep
sorry.
moving.
I hate to admit that about any fighter. Usually,
That's fair.
You know, I try and stay positive about all of them. You know, they all have their strengths and weaknesses and good aspects and bad, but he is just an insufferable weirdo. And I
Wrestle him, man.
if we weren't on this boat together for months now, it might be easier to deal with. But at this point,
I think that can be said about
Control the
pretty much
clinch.
most of
Try to get a takedown
who
if you
we
can.
are dealing
Get him
with.
back
Yeah,
up
that's
and make him pay.
that sure is. That's some brutal honesty, but
off
this
the
is a brutal
cage.
situation.
Keep
Stuck on
going.
this riverboat since
Yep.
March.
Nice.
It is
There it is.
moving in a direction of some
Turn it
sort.
on, get your guard.
I no
That's
longer
it.
recognize any scenery.
on, choke, hang on.
I find it best to stay
Once you
below
feel
deck.
those
I
legs,
don't
back
even.
up.
It's
Look
really
for
just best that I
position, bro.
not think about this too much. Family and friends I miss. There is a
Yes.
buffet that is basically just fuel to keep me alive. Meanwhile, Ruben Fondant has the side control, taking us into the end of the first round. And we go to a second round in this one. Fondant seemed to have the upper hand once it went down to the ground.
You're gonna go win this round?
But
You
Cale
got this
Howard
You
giving
win this round, you got this fight.
it his all as well.
Okay.
Find those punches.
yeah, it was
Hey,
kind of
and
a
find the
fairly
knees right after.
uneventful
Give the body
round.
some too,
Not
okay?
Try to
a
spin him
ton
around.
happened. There
Don't
was
lay your
a
back, sit
knockdown.
on the cage, okay?
Not much
Just
happened
one.
off of it.
Bent knees, okay?
You
Getting a
know,
little bit
Fondant
high.
did get the
Time
takedown
limit.
and, as you said, finished the round on top, but didn't really seem to do a ton of damage. Fairly even, I'd say. I mean, it's
that's the
a
thing,
tough
look
one
at-
to judge.
Howard's 2 wins last year. He did get them fairly early on. A submission win and a knockout win. He did knock out Trevor Serrano, who was ultimately the finalist in last year's tournament. So that is probably the best
That liver
record
kick's
on.
working.
That is the
Everything
best
you're doing is working. It's loading.
Okay, fighters. Are
victory
you ready?
to his
Are
name.
you ready?
He's also defeated Vern Wintergreen, who was ultimately
Let's
relegated.
fight.
We have
Three
seeing him
outside
back in the
hard.
Hyper Fist. We'll see
Get
how he
untouchable.
fares
Right behind it.
tonight. I believe he's still fighting
Press
in the
forward.
Hyper Fist tonight.
Shot go.
And we are
Stick
here
to
with
the game
round
plan.
2.
Take
5
your
points
time. Nice
on the
and
line.
relaxed.
Should either fighter get the
1-6.
victory here
6-6.
in
Liver
round
over.
2. Points are so vital. Not just the victory, but the points will give a little bit more cushion to whomever gets the
That's it.
win.
Let him go.
Yeah,
Currently in
abs-
4th
abs-
place is Miroslav Florislav with 8
Outside, keep
points.
the outside. There you
And
go.
that top 4 is
Hands up,
not
sit
going to
down.
be giving up points.
No, absolutely not. You know, just this win is. I would be surprised if the winner of this ends
Push
up
forward, push forward. Don't
in the
retreat.
bottom 6 at the end of the season here. It's I think
Both
this
fighters
is
still have
really
another fight to go. This isn't. They're not just necessarily out of the woods just yet.
Inside to the
Yet
jaw.
their final
There you go,
fights
get in there.
of the year.
You gotta cut him. Body shots in here.
Miroslav Florislava for Ruben Fondant.
Left arm inside.
Cale Howard has
Look
Walter
for that
Birch.
uppercut.
Neither of those are
Yeah.
particularly easy, winnable fights.
2 minutes 30. Get
It's
off
going to
the
be
fence.
very,
Turn him
very
out.
interesting. It could put
Back
so
him
much
up.
on this, but again, who knows
Follow
where? And
up.
again, we don't know how anything's going to shape out. Everything is so closely competed for. That's what we love about this, the Global MEGAFist 12, is that point system
overhead.
really
Lead uppercut.
adds that level of gamesmanship. And it's not just if you win, it's how you win.
Hey, good one.
We've
Punch
seen a
and then
4-1
move.
fighter
Hands up.
last year get missed. And oh, Howard lands a good shot.
That's it.
And
Go.
Fondant is down. It's all over.
Wow. Big win for Cale Howard.
You know, Ruben Fondant, he's faced 0-4 in the past and came out on top. However, this is the fight comparatively that he won last year. The two winless fighters fighting to avoid the bottom. And, well, again, a little different this year. 5th place isn't guaranteed to stay alive. They will have to fight to survive. They at least have a chance at it. But 5th place could also find themselves on the outside looking in as well. Cale Howard wants to at least give himself a fighting chance. He gets 5 big points tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge win for Howard to stay somewhat alive still.
5 points, the first win of 2020 for Cale Howard. Ruben Fondant will still be in jeopardy. The sad Baker will have to go and maybe soften the blow with some dessert a bit later. But that is the first of 6 fights tonight. Coming up next, it's over into Group B. Another 0-3 fighter, Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs, taking on a perennial contender in Charlie Valentine. Fight of the night, Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs taking on Charlie Valentine, the tail of the tape. They are very, very close. Reach slight advantage too. The proud military troop, freedom fighting Rear Sergeant. Said he is most likely to survive 3 world wars, which, not gonna lie, kind of terrifies me. And miffs me,
Yeah,
but
I mean, the loss of life in the first 2 world wars is horrifying. And there's that famous quote. I don't know what the weapons will be used in the 4th World War, but pretty sure I know it's going to be used in the 3rd. I think I goofed that up. I'll find that out and come back to you.
Fair enough.
I'm not a great quote person.
Yeah, I don't know
unfortunately.
what. Well, I think what was answered for us is I don't know, and I don't know if this is the right quote either. But I will adapt it to fit what we're saying here. Yeah, I don't know what World War IV will be fought with, but World War III apparently will be fought with Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs.
Yeah, apparently.
I don't know how. He hasn't really talked much about his combat. I guess everything is very top secret, as is any knowledge of a third or fourth World War that he plans on fighting in. But
No respect, son.
to know about that is
Perfect work.
terrifying in a way. But to be fair, we have been very isolated here on this ship. There could be a world war going on right now that I don't know about.
Yeah, I mean,
Nice.
I assume if there is, Rear Sergeant would be alerted in
Yeah.
some capacity, and unfortunately have to leave us on the Aztapatlan to go fight in it. So I guess the fact that he's still here means that there has not yet been a third World War.
But however, he is in fact going to have to surrender. That is a huge submission victory for Charlie Valentine, who has picked up 6 massive points.
Big submission for Valentine. Got him in guard, got that Kimura locked up, and forced Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs to tap.
Yeah, he held down he's got his left leg is curled around the right calf, like the joint behind the knee of Gibbs to keep him in place, but it wasn't the tightest of guards. It almost looks like Gibbs is sort of kind of didn't have the skills or training to really sort of fight that off. And I'm a bit surprised by that, but Charlie Valentine is the winner.
It did look pretty tight, and I believe that is Rear Sergeant Val Gibbs's saluting arm, so he had to he didn't want to risk that getting broken.
Fair enough. Well, I can't argue with that. Well, fans, we're gonna take a quick break from the live action here on the Aztapatlan. Talk about our Hyperfist tournament. We talked about it already. Fighters like Walter Birch and Deputy Sneeder Magnum, they made their way into the GMF 12 by winning the Hyperfist last year. You've got 2 more, twice as many fighters, 16 fighters in 2 double elimination tournaments. And we're gonna focus on one half of that. The first 2 rounds are already in the books, and we're gonna go to that right now. You may remember from last year's Global MEGAFist 12, our resident old guy at the gym. I gotta say, he is just enjoying life here on the Aztapatlan. He's working out all the time, rarely wearing pants. I think this is like a senior's cruise for him, but he's taking on Ernest Caldwell.
There you go, nice.
Caldwell,
That's it, let him go.
an explorer. He's traveled.
All right, guys, let's go,
around.
fight.
He's visited.
Coming up on 1 minute, baby.
Visited A&P, Stuckies, but currently got the win by a decision.
Let's get closer, Ray.
Megafist 12. This is Drake Snacklands, the junk food dietitian.
There we
Taking
go.
on Chip Crocker,
Keep
the
pressuring
value
him once you get him
shopper
moving back.
and frequent
Red
shopper,
kids.
and he just kind of hangs
Nice
out
body
at the bench
shot.
at Walmart, and he apparently picks up some good knowledge of some disciplines.
Hammers
I
and
feel like that's
elbows.
it.
On mark.
Pretty solid
Get the
work
stoppage.
from a guy who didn't really list much athletic background in his personal history.
And he gets an armbar victory.
Double the jab.
This is Cody Barrett in the
Atta boy.
Dwayne Mandibles. Mandibles, of course, was in last year's
Control it.
Hyperfist.
Hands up, chin down.
Barrett is the bodybuilder who was forced into getting a real job That is not
Control
our
his
actual
hands.
quotes. That is something he was told. Seems a bit annoyed by that,
Punch his
but
face.
he was a
Hold his
bodybuilder,
hand
told to get a real
down.
job, and this is apparently not the real job. But
What?
That's it. It's over. It's over.
knocking out the first alien trophy hunter, Wayne Mandibles, move on. And the last fight in this side of the bracket. Let's
Press
go.
forward.
Our window washer, who is terrified of heights, taking on Harvey Murkoff, our panic room
Yes.
consultant. The man knows you how to build
Busy
your
here.
bunkers.
Hands up, chin down.
Work that wrist control.
I actually talked to him. I spoke to him. I asked him. I said, "Well, Harvey, what do you
Hands up.
recommend? We're
Hands
actually
up.
kind of an emergency situation
Watch for him to grab
today.
your
What do
leg.
you recommend?" And he just looked at me and he said, "Salt."
With the left hand.
That's all he said. And he walked
1-6.
away, and I was confused.
Head movement. Double that up.
I don't even want to. Alright, I guess we need to get salt.
He did in fact get a knockout victory over Scaffold. That is how round 2 will shape up. Of course, it was double elimination, so every fighter who did not win moves down to the secondary elimination bracket. That is how the second round shaped up like this. Ernest Caldwell versus Drake Chapman. An elimination bout. The Explorer versus the
There you go,
junk food
guys.
dietitian.
You keep going until something opens.
Well, it was Caldwell from the very start.
Drop the
He
elbow.
explored and discovered
Relax here,
some
you're
new
fine, relax
offensive
here.
tactics. Had to fight off a battle
Jab in,
against
short,
Snacklins. But ultimately, this was what did it. It was a knockout
A couple
victory. I
jabs if he's backing up.
think we're going to see the strike in
one, 2
just a
line.
moment.
2, 3, 2.
1, 2, let's go.
Nice body shit.
There was Snacklins, and ultimately gave Caldwell the win and threw Snacklins out of the Hyper Fist on the other side. Other elimination battle. Mandibles,
Working your angles.
Scaffold.
Hands up. Hands up. Beautiful. That's it.
It was a
we
back
go.
and forth affair.
Game plan, buddy.
The alien trophy hunter, the reverse predator,
Yes.
Wayne
Drop the
Mandibles,
elbow.
tried to keep it on the
Perfect.
ground.
Head north, Joe,
However,
head
it
north.
was Lenny Scaffold
Turn into him. Get your guard.
Way to work. Get your head
able
out
to
there.
get this, the submission victory. He kept going for it. It took him to the third round to finally get this victory. And Lenny Scaffold moved on. However, the semifinals, these fighters moving on to be one fight away. Wintergreen versus Crocker. This is two of our most seasoned fighters. I think is the nicest
You
way I
got
can
better
put it.
position.
Yeah, it's
T-bar.
certainly
Adjust your lock.
I guess heartening to see people of this age still out there being active and willing to fist fight others.
Yeah, why not?
Find a way out.
You know, well, I guess in this case, time in the gym did not.
Alright, stop. Fight's over, guys.
Hanging outside of a supermarket and being a value shopper. As Chip Crocker goes back to his bench with a win. One fight away from being in the Gold Megafist 12. Winner of this will be his opponent, Cody Barrett versus Harvey Murkoff. For a shot in the finals of the Hyper Fist.
Yes.
And Barrett
Nice,
started
nice.
off strong with some very effective striking.
That's it.
Now, do you know if Barrett is aware that this is amateur mixed martial arts? It is literally not a job.
There we go.
It's
Head movement.
You know, I just kind of assume that everyone knows that no one's getting paid this time. I asked if he had any professional training, he said nah.
well, I guess reconsider his professional prospects.
Yeah.
That's
Well, if he asks you about getting paid, don't tell him anything and just direct him to somebody else. Well, that is basically where we're standing. Currently, Chip Crocker versus Harvey Murkoff for an automatic spot in next year's Global Megafist 12. The other half of the bracket will be talked about in just a bit after our next couple of fights. But right now, coming up in just a moment, back to the live action. Deputy Snooter Magnum taking on the defending champion of the lightweight division, JC Switcher. That fight is happening right now. Back with the title of the game for this, our third fight of the night. Department store living mannequin, JC Switcher taking on the police dog man, Deputy Snooter Magnum. The fighters very tall, good reach on both of them. Magnum has just barely a bit more of a reach. And of course,
Are you ready?
Magnum most likely to beg for treats. Butcher most likely to stand.
Let's go, guys. Fight.
Still,
Working your angles.
not sure what more to say about that than that. So there we go.
Start letting those hands go.
Yeah, both these men have bizarre careers that I did not know existed before they joined the Global MEGAFist roster of fighters.
Yeah.
My worldview has changed, not for the better, not for the worse, but it's just changed since discovering the fact that these two professions exist.
A net neutral change. I would agree with that. Not only are these professions I didn't know existed, they are professions that I didn't know were done by humans as well. One is a department store mannequin, which I thought is a job done by molded plastic,
When you're ready,
and
explode.
a police dog, which the name kind of well, you know, I guess
Yes.
I don't want to prejudice, and I don't want to say that, you know, we're showing favoritism to a species or something, but a police dog is usually a job held by a dog, not a person. And yet here we have Deputy Snooter Magnum, a police dog man, dog.
Yeah, I would have assumed that someone with the kind of olfactory capabilities as Deputy Snooter Magnum could maybe become like a sommelier or something that maybe involves, you know, they say a lot of taste is predicated on smell.
Sure.
So that seems a more reasonable profession.
Or another
But-
route, again, if he wants to go into law enforcement, he could just be work in the police force. Or if that was trouble for him, then like security. There are all sorts of career paths to go. You don't have to go and visit the world of other species.
Beautiful.
But
There it
Yeah,
is.
here we
and
are.
if you want to be a person that models clothes, you know, you can be a thing called a model and simply walk down a runway and display the clothes, and you don't spend, you know, a 12-hour shift in a department store.
Standing still, perfectly
Yeah.
still.
Stand there.
I mean, I get the idea of, you know, people want to see the, you know, how clothes drape on an actual human form and not a plastic mannequin, but, you know, that I think is also predicated on the idea that
Time.
the
Stop. Time, guys.
person is going to move, so you see how the clothes move with the body and is not just standing still. It's
I never actually thought of that.
You listen to me.
If
Finish
he,
every
upon
combination with a kick.
request,
Keep the right
moved
kick on.
back,
Control range.
Pose?
Finish with.
Hey, look at
or move around. Like, if
All you
that's-
need to do is score. You score
I mean,
with
I
that takedown.
have nothing else.
You score.
I do it
Be
for
there.
tips. If
Finish
that's-
this fight. Get it over
Well,
with.
if he
He
chooses-
is not as good as you.
Then
Yeah,
why
I-
not?
He's not as good as
I guess
you.
then it's sort of like a living statue sort of situation.
Yeah.
Like you'll see those gold or silver guys in the park, and you pay them $1, and they'll kind of move and. But this is inside a store. It's
Yeah. Well, I guess on the plus side, he's not covered in gold or silver paint, which is something.
yeah,
But
yeah. Good first round.
Hey, that's
Yeah,
close.
very
You
good
don't
first
sit there and judge it, all right?
Are you ready?
Didn't
Are
get
you ready?
much in the way of fight discussion during that as we
Fine.
continue to wrestle with
Let's go, guys. Fight.
I guess the world we live in now that we have discovered or been
Face to face.
corralled into global megafist and all that it entails.
it's not exactly where I expected to be.
Keep
And I took the Global Fist 12 jobs, nor do I imagine you feeling that way as well, Lucille, but we are here. And
Jab, jab, jab. Use that jab.
yeah, we are here in a gymnasium aboard a riverboat
Lead uppercut.
that was not designed to be sailed, and yet we are moving at an alarming pace in a direction that I don't understand. Last I recall, we were on the Mississippi River, which I didn't think is actually possible, and yet
Hands up, chin
we
down.
are still moving. I can actually feel if I take my headphones off and I move away from the microphone and I listen carefully, I can actually feel and sense the boat moving. So again, just a very strange situation for all of us. Meanwhile, we have live mixed martial arts on the amateur level happening
nice.
before our very eyes,
Take them off and get up to your feet.
and it's just a very strange world we live in.
Perfect work.
Yeah, and you know this is a pretty intriguing fight. You know, JC Butcher is a heavy favorite, I would say, for this year. Snooter Magnum, a much more unknown quantity of fighter, quality of fighter. Coming from the Hyper Fist. And he's surviving well against Switcher so far. He's had some moments of success. Switcher is probably had a bit more coming, as the second round winds down. But it's a very good fight.
Well, I think again, and Deputy Snooter Magnum, if there's anyone who is really like we talk about it's trial by fire for these new fighters who have joined from the Hyper Fist. I don't think that phrase applies any better than to Deputy Snooter Magnum. Look at the fighters he has fought already. And again, you almost want to forgive that 1-2 record because he got a TKO win over Beginner's Swordhouse in his debut. Amazing debut, a tough striker, beat him at his own game.
Head movement.
Lost to Rob Lynn by decision
Perfect work.
and was TKO'd by Charlie Valentine in the third round of his last fight. And he is about to go to a third round with
Time.
JC
Stop.
Switcher.
Time, guys.
This is a guy, dog, man, pup, doggo, something
You hear me? You gotta take it to him.
that
You
is
can dump him,
hanging in
control
there
him.
with
He's
some of
going
the
up
top
the cage,
names
okay?
at the
You
weight
can beat
class.
him. Heavy hands for
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
Heavy
He is
hands for me,
a
all right?
tough
Heavy hands. Take a couple deep
entity.
breaths, look me in the eye. He's
I
got
guess
nothing for
is
you.
maybe the easy
Straight
way
punches
to
with
phrase
him.
that.
Let's start hitting those legs
for me,
a little
yeah.
bit. Coming back on him.
He's got to be careful though. These long drawn out fights. He's more than likely not going to make it into the playoffs. But for next season, he's going to want to do his best to finish early because he's giving away points at this point. Even if he does manage to defeat Switcher, which not saying he can't. It's definitely going to be difficult.
But it would only be for 4 points at this point because it is in the third round. And,
Absolutely.
And again, I'm also kind of surprised. I'm going through. Well, to be
Gotta
fair,
keep
this
those
is something that
hands
he's
up
kind
inside.
of just done and
The
had an
leg kicks
issue
are
with
there.
Are you ready?
in the Hyperfist
Are you
last
ready?
year, where again the points didn't matter. It was more of a tournament situation.
Let's go, guys.
Third
Fight.
round knockout. Followed up by a third round submission, and he
9-2.
defeated Walter Birch by decision. Walter
on,
Birch
baby,
had to go
1-2.
through the
Make him reach it and make him
get
pay.
through,
Hands up.
and had to fight a couple
Stand
more
in the middle, let
times
him come
to
and
get
fight.
to the Global Megafist 12.
1-2, let's
So
go.
he's beating the fighters, he's just not doing it. And again, that's going to be something that will have to just develop over time, I
Just
imagine.
get closer, right?
Is doing it in an efficient way. I guess is the best way to put it. As we're seeing, he's getting a takedown, and this is the kind of urgency that he'd probably be coming in a bit sooner in the fight.
Yeah, he seems way more convinced to just kind of grind his opponents down. I guess sort of like a dog just latching on and holding on and waiting for the opponent to kind of tire out.
Yeah. Well, I will say to his credit, that is that dog-like stamina.
All right, stop.
And he
Fight's
gets
over,
a
fight's over, guys.
Submission.
Oh my gosh, that is an incredible upset. I have to say that is
Wow.
that is amazing.
Well, Magnum gets the 4 points, goes to 2-2. And I am absolutely shocked. I am floored by what we are seeing here, an upset. Giving JC Switcher his first loss of 2020. And we were I think we were discounting Magnum a little bit too much. Bottom line is he's getting a win, and in a big way.
Absolutely, that is a big win. It's sadly only 4 points, but it's definitely better than going 1 and 3. If I think if it would have went to the judges, I think Switcher was edging things out on the scorecards.
That's very likely. So that's good instincts there. It does put him in 3rd place at the moment. There are some fighters below him that have yet to fight, Lin and Swordhouse. And speaking of, that is the fight we are waiting for. So we'll have a better idea of how Group B shapes out in just a moment. This fight, Beginnis Swordhouse, Rob Lin. Get ready for it. It's happening now.
All right.
of the tape. Both fighters, very different body types, and oddly enough, very similar size. Sized fighters, you wouldn't expect it by looking at them, but both at 155. I think Swordhouse packs on a little bit after the weight cut. But
You ready?
Beginnis Swordhouse most likely to own a flail. Rob Lin most likely to pickpocket all of Canada. And, well, he is voted Canada's best pickpocket.
Step the outside, keep control.
Won that award that I didn't realize is an award given out. But again, we learned so much just by working here at the Global MEGAFist 12, Lucille. And I guess the Canadians, they want to reward success, and they do it even in the sense of pickpocketry.
Yeah, absolutely. At least Beginnis Swordhouse, he's got a hobby I've heard of. I've known, you know, once or twice been to a Renaissance fair. You get a big turkey leg, you get a mug of mead, or maybe if you're at a fancy one, like a drinking horn of mead. It's a fun time. You know, I don't go as far as, you know, Beginnis does. You know, he's told me he's competed in several melee tournaments with, you know, the historical weaponry and armor.
I didn't know they actually had those for real. I always thought those were I always thought those were like staged shows. I've never been to one where they had it for real. That sounds very dangerous.
He said it is. You know, they take some precautions, but it's hard to fully, you know, make things safe when you're swinging a big wooden club with a hunk of metal on the end, even if you know your opponent has a big metal helmet. But
explains his ability to take such punishment. As we saw, a spinning back fist was very much like a mace or a flail.
yeah, absolutely.
Rob Lynn and Swordhouse just going, just not backing down. Now these two did meet in last year's tournament. Beginner Swordhouse just missed out on the playoffs, and if I recall, Rob Lynn got the knockout victory. They met in, when was it? They met in the fourth. They met at the same time, the fourth fight of the group stage. Rob Lynn knocked out Beginner's Swordhouse with just about 13 seconds to go, so we're getting around to that time, but I don't think either fighter has really had an advantage just yet.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good stand-up fight so far, but you know, some people like to say precision beats power and timing beats speed. So, you know, Lynn is he looks like a fairly small guy, but he is an expert at precision and timing. He knows when to get in and get out. Knows when to throw that punch and when to not throw that punch, and that has served him well so far.
Very good point. Very good point to seal. And we go to a second round. So this is now further than their first fight went. And I would say I have to go off of memory.
3-2.
They're more evenly matched than the first fight. Neither of them. Again, I do remember Rob Lynn's knockout of Swordhouse in last year's tournament was kind of out of nowhere. He just mauls him and then drops him and finishes it off. I mean, that knockdown is not nowhere near the knockout we saw, and that's probably the highlight of the fight. They give the round to Lynn so far. Be interesting to see if anything is learned, or if Lynn we haven't seen the same, I want to say tenacity and fire out of Lynn, but he hasn't been able to finish his opponents in as quick of a fashion as he did last year.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I mean, that could be a number of factors. You know, people just getting a little more comfortable and not leaving themselves open as much. And you know, as Lynn has stated as a pickpocket, he knows when to spot an opening and when to take advantage.
Sure does. He's actually, last year he scored a total of 26 out of a possible 30 points in the group stage. 2 wins in the second round, 2 in the first, and 1 in the third round. Ended up losing to JC Switcher in the semifinals, a fight that we thought was an upset at the time.
Keep
Now
going.
we're seeing JC Switcher. Obviously, we know so much more now that JC Switcher was quite the fighter. May not have been as much of an underdog as we thought, but here we go. Second round, 5 points on the line for the winner if they get the finish in this round. And Lynn going to the clinch, pushing Swordhouse up against the cage. Not the strategy I expected from him.
No, he definitely seems to really excel at range.
Don't stay in his range.
But maybe he's just really having trouble with Swordhouse's power or his, you know, I'm not sure. He's trying to.
Does look like he's tiring. He is getting he's laboring his breathing. He's getting a little bit fatigued, a little heavier breathing, but he's still throwing power. And Lynn is on the back foot, and that is so tough. Usually, you want to say, you know, if a fighter's on their back foot, they can't strike with precision and with power. Oh, what a kick from Swordhouse! But I think Lynn saw it coming and blocked it.
Yeah, it was
Come on, head movement, let your hands go.
pretty impressive, but it came a little too slow, I think.
Oh my God! Out of nowhere.
That's it. It's
It's
over.
that
It's over.
simple. Gosh, he just turns it on out of nowhere.
Again, that opening, even for a split second, is all Rob Lynn needs to turn out the lights.
Wow, he floors Beginner's Swordhouse with a huge right hand, rocks back, misses. Swordhouse misses the right cross, and the opening is there. And again, that is, I'd imagine that's one of the most important lessons of pickpocketry is to spot your opportunity and go immediately. And Lynn certainly did there. Wow.
On that replay, that was, not to discount the knockout, but that was a pretty bad cut along, I guess, the cheekbone of Guinness Storehouse. That was,
I don't know where he got that. That might have been earlier in the fight.
I think just repeated punches on the same spot. Again, precision from Rob Lynn to land in the same spot over and over.
No doubt about that. Well, we have quite a lot more to go. We have 2 more live fights for you at the moment. However, we talked about the Hyper Fist, how fighters can fight their way into the Global Mega Fist 12, the field of 12. We've got our other group of fighters to introduce and to see who is moving forward. That is happening right now.
Guys, fight.
Failed to make it out of the Hyper Fist last year. They are back.
That's it. Damage
Preston
from
Groom,
there.
the low-budget animal wrangler,
Leg kicks.
covered in scars. I remember seeing him find some scars before his fight. Not sure why, but he's taking on Dusty Shackelford, an exterminator.
Time. Stop.
And,
Time, guys.
Shackelford,
Nice.
well,
Perfect
gave him
work.
quite the fight.
Beautiful. Go that left right down the middle. There we go.
This would ultimately
There
go
you
to
go,
a
nice.
decision. Sorry, Lucilia.
Nice.
Very, very back and forth fight between two, you can't really call them animal enthusiasts. Yeah, just a very good back and forth fight.
And ultimately, Shackelford got the win
Go that
by a
left, right down the
decision
middle.
over Preston Groom. His first fight in the Global
go,
Mega Fist
start,
12
Make him cover. See what he's gonna do.
competition, even the Hyper Fist, still counts. Eddie Andromeda was relegated from last year's tournament. He took on Aldi
You got a lot of
Albertson.
time. He's
The,
beat. Hands up. Hands up.
grocery
Don't do anything
store.
sloppy.
He runs
A
a
couple
grocery
jabs
store
and
out of the
backing up.
back of his car, and
Don't throw
I
one.
don't understand how this works. Like,
Hey, you gotta throw your jabs, man.
can his own food and then sell it? Does he just acquire it and then sell it at a premium? I don't know what I do know. He scored a huge first-round TKO victory over the Queen impersonator, Eddie Andromeda. Move on. Holden Apocra taking on Simon Dolby. You ever hear the phrase, Lucille, that a man's back is so wide you can screen a movie on it?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I wouldn't say that's the case with Simon Dolby, but he is literally a human film reel. He is literally... I don't get how that works, but they screen movies on him. He gets movies screened on him all the time.
No.
Don't
Come on with
understand.
me.
He's taking on a professional
Double jab,
cuddler
straight hook. Let's go.
in Holden Apocra. I don't
won't go
understand
far.
any of the
Stand in the
things that
middle.
either of these men do.
I mean,
Way to work.
I think, if anything, the Global Mega Fist 12 has taught us that late-stage capitalism will just create bizarre niche markets that
Come on, baby, 1,
some
2.
insane
Double
person is
jab,
going to
straight
try and
hook. Let's
fill.
go.
I guess so. Holden Apocra did get the decision victory, and the final
Keep
fight
angling,
of the
keep
first
angling.
round of this
Get out of
bracket.
there.
Yikes McDonald and Neil Peppercorn, both these
Control the
fighters, came up short in last year's Hyper Fist. Yikes McDonald, of course, from Yuck It Up with Yikes and Pals, morning radio host, taking on, I think it was Yikes and Chums, excuse me, I got that wrong, taking on Neil Peppercorn, the despondent waiter.
Keep doing
Oh,
that.
he was, despondent, he was not responding.
It's over.
After that second round knockout, McDonald moves even further. And here's how the second round shakes out. Those two top level fights. It is double elimination, of course. And we are going to go right to the second round of this, the Hyper Fist. First, there were the elimination fights. The losers of these, their Hyper Fist is over before it basically even gets started. Preston Groom, Eddie Andromeda, and I hate to break it to anyone, Probably the same Lucille. Just a man who is a bit undersized. And, yeah.
Patience. Keep
Andromeda
stepping the
really
outside.
would benefit
Go
if,
that left right down the middle.
I think he could be a flyweight, to be honest.
No
He
doubt.
is
Little
a
pace, little
tiny,
Yeah.
Yes.
he's a tiny man who,
Don't do that.
even against these 155ers, is just severely outsized.
I will say though, heck of a performer at the karaoke spot.
Yeah, that's it. It's one of the few bright spots there.
I think if nothing else, we should keep around for that. He does fall the Preston room. His hyperfist is over. I almost want to just encourage him to take up music full time. As
Don't stand there.
goodness me, that's going to pay better and be more successful and involve less punching. The other fight for survival, Neil Peppercorn and Simon Dolby. Dolby dropping Peppercorn early on, going for a rear naked choke in the first round, but the finish came in the second round. It was all Dolby, and this is what put down Peppercorn. Strikes as Peppercorn was covering up, backing off,
Kicks go.
and a right hand right when he looked up from covering up.
That's it.
And it was all over. Dolby moves on. Peppercorn, his hyperfist is over. With the winner going to the hyperfist finals, fighting for a spot, 2 wins away. Aldi Albertson, Dusty Shackelford. They took care of it in 1 round. This is basically the entirety of the first round, what we're watching right
What's
now.
behind that now? Circle.
The Exterminator versus
Working
the
your angles.
Rogue Grocery Store.
Step the outside. Keep control.
I don't even know what we would call
In and out. Face to face.
what Aldi Albertson does, other than probably
Under 2. Come on, baby. 1, 2.
Yeah, I'm sure there's certain guidelines for food.
All right, stop. Fight's over.
that are not being met. I mean, it's probably not as bad as and I'm blanking on the name. Unfortunately, the gentleman last season who had the freelance ambulance.
Hands up.
Oh yeah, Medivit. Yeah, Slovan. Yeah, he's perhaps they're talking shop at some point. Well, Albertson at least does get a very good knockout win in the first round. Holden Apaka took on Yikes McDonald. This is a surprising result as Yikes just dropped him early. Could not finish the fight, but later in the first round, the professional cuddler versus the morning radio host. And that is the power of Yikes.
That is some strong Zoo Crew energy.
There is, well, Aldi Albertson, Yikes McDonald, the winner of that fight, will be in next year's Global MEGAFist 12. The others are not out yet. There is a chance that they could fight their way in, but that elimination bracket only gets you to the potential finale where you're fighting for a spot against the 5th place fighter. There's more on that as the bracket goes on. However, got 2 more fights to go to, and they are big ones, Lucille. Coming up next, Zeke Apnea, 2-1 so far, taking on a dangerous man in Miroslav Lorislava. That fight is happening right now.
it's kind of interesting. No
ready?
one so far has seemed to be like,
Let's
at least
fight.
that I can recall. I mean, maybe a class clown, or even just most likely to succeed or marry their high school sweetheart. It's
Do it again. Inside
these are some
this
weird
time.
high school superlatives, but
You keep going
you
till
know,
something opens.
I've never met anyone other than Miroslav Florislava that just would willingly wear asbestos. So
Yeah, I was gonna
It
just
takes-
clarify for those watching, just so you know which fighter is which. That is Miroslav Florislava in the asbestos, Zeke apnea in his jammies. The man is just trying to get some sleep. I imagine maybe he's doing a bit better job at it because he's not living above the underground fight club that he apparently lives in and has pays the bills with an energy drink sponsorship. But again, just gives him uncomfortable amounts of energy. And oh goodness me, sometimes you wonder if just being knocked unconscious is what gives him the best sleep of his life. And he was almost sent that way by Miroslav Florislava with a huge kick.
yeah, as I think we pointed out previously, he did have a vicious knockout loss last year that surprisingly after that he started fighting a lot better, and I think
It was Rob
we-
Lynn. It was a Rob Lynn knockout. And then he won 2 fights in a row. You're absolutely right.
one shot right on the button, and he is a new man.
Yeah, and he started out this tournament with 2 more wins, so he had a 4-fight winning streak before losing to Walter Birch by a TKO. He's got a tough fight right now. He is putting it to Miroslav Florislava, but he gives up a submission. That was almost a submission victory for Apnea. We are seeing perhaps a rejuvenated fighter. We are seeing just an amazing renaissance, I guess, an awakening. It sounds like a bad way to put it. But oh goodness me, well, Florislava is one of the most dangerous fighters we've got. That's it. He doesn't quite turn the lights out, but he ends the fight like the flip of a switch, doesn't he, Lucille? And he gets the victory.
Just an unrelenting barrage of punches from Miroslav Florislava causes the finish. Apnea covering up, not much he could do, but
Yeah.
good win for Miroslav Florislava. That was last year I'd be surprised to say it, but 2020 Zeke Apnea has been a changed man, and that was a tough fight to win
Yeah,
for Florislava.
much tougher. If that was last year's fight, I would not have been surprised by how quickly that was finished. I think that was just 2 fighters going for growth. But we have a guy like Walter Birch who hasn't fought yet tonight and is still in first place with 17 points out of a possible 18 from his first 3 fights. You go for broke, you go for that win, and Florislava, who has struggled a bit comparatively, gets 6 massive points. But it is main event time, and it is the man we were talking about, Walter the Yardstick Birch, taking on last year's finalist, the man who was 1 win away from winning the whole Global Megafist 12 at lightweight, Trevor Serrano. It's going to be a great one, and it's happening right now. there is the tail of the cake for this our main event. Walter Birch, a 1-inch height advantage. And, I think I'm just going to leave those to the reader, to the viewer. I don't know if I want to comment on any of that.
Let's go, guys. Fight.
Look, we know what Walter Birch does. We know his job. He's a professional disciplinarian. I feel like that's all that needs to be said.
Control the clinch.
Absolutely.
It's uncomfortable,
There it
perhaps
is.
frowned upon,
That's it.
but it's here. And he is one heck of a fighter, Lucille.
Yep.
2 victories in the first round, 1
Swim it
second
across
round
the
victory,
elbow.
17 from a possible 18 points. And he's
Make
done
him
it
work
in
harder
all
than you.
fashions. A
Mix it
submission
up, mix it
victory
up.
and 2 TKO victories.
Perfect
And he's
work.
already taken, well, for a second he had mount
Yeah.
on Trevor Serrano.
3.5. Work that wrist
Yeah, he
control.
is,
Both victories by TKO as well, yeah.
Keep moving.
Yeah, Walter Birch is dominant pretty much anywhere he wants
Nice,
fights
nice.
to take place. It's tough to stop this guy.
No doubt.
Serrano
There we go.
trying his best though
Get him
with
from out, guard.
his own ground attacks.
Stay tight in
Yeah,
there.
Serrano,
Come down with a good one.
I'm looking at how he's performed so
There you
far.
go,
He
nice.
obviously is more of a striker. He's got
Through half
wins
guard,
by
through half
TKO
guard.
and knockout all through
Way
last
to
one,
work.
3 and 2. Ultimately finished
Beautiful.
second
Hands
place.
up. Hands up.
Clinched that second place group
Double that
spot
up. There it is.
on a tiebreaker on the
That's
last
it.
group stage fight. He got a knockout win over McGinnis Swordhouse that
Put
ultimately
your right arm on his head.
not only moved him into second place, but tied him with Swordhouse and gave him
Punch his
that
face.
tiebreaker, which of course is the head-to-head.
Yep.
But he is doing pretty
now.
good. He's got a.
Work for the
He
kid,
lost his
come on.
first fight via knockout to
You've
Miroslav
got better
Borislava,
position.
but came back with wins via TKO over
Give
Ruben
me that, keep
Fondant
on taking.
and Hale
Yes.
Howard. Walter Birch
Pull
would
the
be,
hip, kick him
however,
away.
quite
Head control,
the
take the back.
victory if Serrano can get it, and it would
Stay out guard with it.
gum up the entire group. It would move everyone
Let
very
those
close
hands
to one another.
go.
Something we've been seeing a lot here in the Global
Perfect.
MEGAFist 12 this year is
Keep
these
your feet on
groups
his head.
are just so
Nice,
tightly
nice.
contested that occasionally
Inside to
one
the jaw.
fighter just moving
Back
away
him
from
up.
the pack.
Body your head.
But we don't really have any clue
Gotta get this right on the
who
back.
is making it to the
Cut him. You gotta
semifinals
cut him.
even this late into the group stage.
Yeah, these lightweights
Keep
have
going.
been closely contested.
10 seconds. Get him back
You know,
up. Make him
a
pay.
win for Birch here, of course, pretty much automatically sets him
Time,
out.
stop,
but
time, guys.
Serrano, as you said, could completely change the trajectory for just about everyone in this group.
He's tired. His legs
with
are
a
tired from trying to hold that figure.
Yeah, right
Push the
now,
pace.
before
Push
I
the
get
pace.
this is with one fight fewer than
Alright,
the other
alright,
names I'm going to mention.
Start to finish.
And of course, we'll see how
You
this all
never get
shakes up at the end of the
turn.
night when
I
this
want your
fight's
knee to dig
over.
into the body.
But
That back, you fight
Florislava
that
and
2-on-1
Apnea
if he
just
gets that
fought.
body lock. You gotta
Florislava
fight
with
it
the
off.
win has 14 points.
You swing
Apnea
that arm
has
over.
10.
Okay? You swing
Serrano
that arm
has
over.
9 going into this. So he is a win away from, at the very least, third place and possibly into second. Walter Birch has 17 already. Walter Birch is going to punch his ticket to the semifinals with a win, regardless of how. And even if he doesn't
5
get the
minutes
win,
of hell,
he is a
tighten your
very
punches up. The uppercut is there all day, but you
likely
got
ready?
chance to do
Are
it
you
with a
ready?
win. He has a chance to do it in the final group stage fight. Serrano faces Zeke Apnea. That
Let's
could
go,
be
guys,
the most
fight.
important fight of the group stage.
Keep moving.
Walter Birch has Kill Howard. You know, there are so many
1-6.
permutations and possibilities where everyone is fighting for something going into that final day.
There you go. Get in there.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun when the last fight of the regular season is for something as opposed to just kind of a keep busy sort of a situation. And it's lucky that things are looking to shake out this way for the lightweights at least.
Yeah, well, I mean, and even if Walter, and you know, sometimes that's just going to happen. If Walter Birch gets the win, then yeah, ultimately his fight next week or next time is going to be, and he's got an arm triangle. This could be the beginning of the end.
That's looking pretty deep on Serrano.
Yeah, it's not necessarily. I don't know how he's going to be fighting it. He's not really doing much to fight it off. He's struggling, but
There it is.
Birch just kind of gave up on it and decides to put more punishment in. 90 seconds to go here in round 2. 5 points if the winner gets that finish in this round.
Perfect work.
And for
Yes.
Birch, that would put him at 22
Perfect.
points. that would clinch him first place in the group.
missed
Not
his
only a
second
spot in the semis, it would clinch him first place.
Right away.
Push forward, don't retreat.
Unbelievable. Just amazing.
3-2.
Don't throw
To come in from the Hyperfist and so thoroughly dominate his group.
Speaking of dominating, he's just dominating Sereno in this round. The first round was pretty even. This has been all Virgin. Just as I said, Sereno gets the top position.
Nice.
Tries to just gain his composure again. He was hit with some really hard
Come on,
shots
there you go.
from the disciplinarian, showing that the power of his disciplinary works on adults too, I guess.
Yeah.
Tight on him.
Looks like Birch is searching for a Kimura. We've seen several of those finish fights tonight. Kind of, I think all the submission finishes have been via Kimura tonight. That's
Magnum won it by that. I think Valentine got it by it as well. Yeah, that's and of course we had a couple in the Hyperfist, the highlight package. It's I guess one of those easier to pick up ones because remember these are not professional fighters. They are not fighters really by any sort of means. But
Fight's over, guys.
Birch gets the submission victory, and you could have fooled me.
seconds left to go in that second round.
Wow. Yeah, but Birch just pulls it out. Credit to Sereno for trying to hang on, but ultimately the power and the cranking and the just the what's the word? He had the leverage just pull.
Leverage and torque, just wrenching that shoulder joint just out of socket.
Vicious. Absolutely vicious by Walter Birch, who has solidified his spot in only in the semifinals, but in first place in the group. What a win for Walter Birch. Wow. Well, folks, that will just about do it for us here. We're going to go through the results. We saw, again, Group A. These are the most recent results. We saw Birch with that submission victory. Hale Howard winning in the second round via TKO, getting his first win of the year. Miroslav Florislava winning via TKO over Zeke Apnea in first place. And look at what it does to the standings. Lucille, we're staring at Group A. Birch already through to the semifinals. Apnea, Florislava, Sereno all have a shot at doing it. And there are some fights that are really going to be telling. Apnea versus Sereno could be a battle for second place. Florislava gonna have to, he's got Ruben Fondant. Again, you would assume, based on records, that's an easy win. We've seen some crazy stuff happen in those final matches.
Yeah, Apnea and Sereno are both going to be cheering hard for Ruben Fondant to, if nothing else, even a decision win for Florislava puts it out of reach. I'm just looking at the points now, but yeah. If Fondant can win, Apnea and Sereno have a chance to move on to the next round, depending again on how points shake out. But
and it's not even a guarantee. You know, they still have to win it quickly. You know, even
decision.
Let's say Florislava loses, Sereno or Apnea get a decision, they're still out on fewer points. It's just the nature of this tournament, and it really adds a lot of flavor and a lot of spice to that. Of course, October 26th, when those fights will be taking place. Yes, it is. October 26th. We're coming at you 4 weeks in a row from the Atsa Paddle, and thank goodness it's given us something to do. Meanwhile, Group B, Rob Lynn knocking out Beginner's Swordhouse. Sluder Magnum with the submission victory, the surprise result, I think, of this round. And Charlie Valentine getting 6 big points. Here's what it did. It put Charlie Valentine at the top with a little bit of a buffer zone. But look at this. We are going to see one of those three, Valentine, Switcher, and Lynn, out of this tournament after their next fight. And possibly a second should Magnum get the victory he needs, which he's facing Val Gibbs, who is yet to get a victory.
yeah, Valentine Lynn is a fight to be on the lookout for. That is that is a lot of people's playoff hopes riding on it right there.
That screams main event if I've ever seen one, to be honest with you.
I mean,
even without it, yeah, Valentine versus Lynn is just a fantastic fight anyway.
I mean, I guess we'll have to go into deeper tiebreakers, but if Lynn and Switcher both win with a 4-point victory to really gum up the works with a 3-way 16-point tie,
Yeah.
I guess it comes down to head-to-head records.
Well, yeah, we'll discuss the tiebreaker should it come to it. I know head-to-head, let's see, Valentine, Switcher beat Valentine, Switcher beat Lynn. So that would easily be it for that. It would come down to Lynn versus Valentine for that second place spot.
And in that hypothetical, then Lynn would have beaten Valentine.
Yes, he would have, yeah. So it would have been Valentine on the out. So much variance, so much to play for.
As a fan of chaos, I kind of look forward to a scenario similar to that, but knowing MMA, it's going to be weirder than I can imagine.
Well, as someone who can attest that the two of us both know weird, surely that is what we would come to expect. However, we're going to see you back here next week, 8 p.m. Eastern, here on the Ats of Paddlin' for the final stage of the group stages. We go over to the heavyweights, and there's some of the fights on there. Gabe Donahue versus Fritz Pilgrim. Wanderin' Mo Volt versus Jeff Perkins. That's the top of the table battle. And the all-seeing Zoltan taking on Lonnie Fescue on the other side. Marty Sweats versus Dan Rodenta. Oliver Lehman versus Damian Adder. And Lil 42 The Answer versus Dr. Igor Tonic. Don't miss it. It's the heavy-handed big boy heavyweights coming up next time. That is going to do it for us. Lucille Cramble-Corn, thank you as always for joining me here. Where else were we going to go? We're stuck on this moving riverboat. It is dangerous out there. We hope you all enjoyed the Global MEGAFist 12. Stay safe out there. We'll see you back here next week. I think we have the buffet to go eat at and cry and go try to figure out where we are. But we hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you back here next week for the Global MEGAFist 12.